Get this roach out of my bank!
Claire Dawson said it in the middle of the lobby.
Now!
Hands on hips, pearl earrings. Not a whisper, a command. Third time this week. Same bank, same check, same answer.
This is my money. My check.
$250,000? From you? Who'd you steal it from?
I'm asking you to do your job.
Stray dogs don't get served at this counter. Not today. Not ever.
6 customers watched. Nobody moved. The security guard stepped closer. He folded the check, slid it into his pocket, and said,
I gave you 3 chances.
Then he walked out. What Claire didn't know, what nobody in that lobby knew, was that the man she just called a stray dog was about to come back. And this time, he wouldn't be alone. Whew! Buckle up. Because to understand what just happened, we gotta go back to where it all started. 3 days before that moment, Monday morning, 6:15 a.m., a quiet suburb in Ridgewood, New Jersey. Aaron Mitchell woke up the same way he always did. No alarm, just sunlight through thin curtains and the sound of his dog scratching at the bedroom door. He made coffee in a kitchen that smelled like old wood and fresh grounds. Nothing fancy. A drip machine from Target. A chipped mug with no logo. He stood by the window, sipping slow, watching the neighborhood wake up. From the outside, nothing about Aaron's life screamed money. His house was clean, but small. 1 story. A garden out front with tomatoes coming in. A 10-year-old SUV in the driveway, scratched bumper, faded paint. His neighbors knew him as the quiet guy who moved in 6 months ago. Friendly enough. Waved when he walked his dog. Never talked about work. Never had visitors in expensive cars. Never did anything that made anyone look twice. That was the point. What his neighbors didn't know, what nobody in Ridgewood knew, was that Aaron Mitchell owned Mitchell Capital Holdings, a private equity firm managing over $800 million in assets. He'd built it from nothing. No inheritance, no family money. A foster kid who aged out of the system at 18 with $200 and a library card. But Aaron never wore his wealth. No Rolex, no designer shoes, just his late mother's Timex on his left wrist, the only thing she left him before she passed. He wore it every single day. Not because it was valuable, because she was. He put on a clean pair of jeans, a plain navy button-down, grabbed a manila envelope from the kitchen counter, inside it, a cashier's check for $250,000. A routine transfer. His money moving between his own accounts. He drove 15 minutes to First Union Savings Bank, the Ridgewood branch. The building looked like it belonged in a magazine. Polished marble floors, brass door handles, the kind of place that smelled like leather and fresh paper. Soft jazz floated from hidden speakers. Everything whispered the same message. You're in good hands here, if you were the right kind of customer. Ridgewood was a wealthy town, mostly white. The bank's clientele matched. Older couples in pressed khakis, business owners checking on commercial accounts, women with designer bags making small talk with tellers who knew their first names. Aaron walked in at 10:15 a.m. The lobby was half full. A few heads turned, then turned back. Nothing dramatic, just that half-second glance, the kind that measures you before you've said a word. He approached the counter. A young Latina teller named Nina Vasquez greeted him. Polite, professional, a real smile. Good morning. How can I help you? Aaron slid the check across the counter with his ID, driver's license, bank card, Social Security card, everything she could possibly need. "I'd like to deposit this into my checking account, please." Nina looked at the check. $250,000. Cashier's check from a top 5 national bank, made out to Aaron Mitchell. She scanned it, typed, "Everything cleared. Routine transaction. 2 minutes tops." Then a voice came from behind her. "Hold that transaction." Claire Dawson, branch manager, late 40s, blonde hair pinned tight, cream blazer, pearl earrings. She stood in the doorway of her glass-walled office like she owned not just the branch, but everyone in it. She looked at the check. Then she looked at Aaron, slowly, head to toe. Nina's fingers froze above the keyboard. She knew that look. Every teller in this branch knew that look. Claire picked up the check, held it like it was dirty. "I need to verify this personally." She took it to her office. The glass door clicked shut. Aaron waited. 5 minutes. 10. 15. He watched 3 customers who arrived after him get served, finish their business, and walk out. One of them deposited $60,000 in cash. No hold, no questions. 20 minutes later, Claire came back. "I'm sorry, sir. This check cannot be verified at this time. You'll need to come back tomorrow with additional identification." Aaron looked at the stack of ID on the counter. What additional identification?
Claire's smile didn't move. "We just need to be thorough with amounts like this." She never made the call. The verification phone sat untouched on her desk. Aaron saw it through the glass. He gathered his documents. He put the check back in the envelope. And he left, without a word. Aaron drove home that evening in silence. No radio, no phone calls. Just the hum of the engine and the envelope sitting on the passenger seat like an uninvited guest.
He wasn't surprised. That was the part that sat heavy in his chest. Not anger, not shock, just the familiar, bone-deep tiredness of being measured by your skin before your name. He'd felt it before, plenty of times. The store clerk who followed him through the aisle, the taxi that slowed down, then sped up, the real estate agent who showed him the more affordable listings before he even said his budget.
But there was something different about a bank. A bank holds your money. It's supposed to work for you. When a bank looks at you and decides you don't belong, that's not just disrespect. That's a locked door with your name on it. Aaron sat in his driveway for a long time. Engine off, hands on the wheel. His dog barked from inside the house. He went in, fed the dog, reheated leftover rice, sat at the kitchen table with the envelope in front of him. He could have made one phone call. One call to his firm's finance team. One call to the corporate office. One call, and Claire Dawson's Wednesday would look very different from her Monday. But he didn't, because Aaron Mitchell didn't want to pull rank. He wanted to see what would happen if he just came back as himself. Same jeans, same check, same man. No titles, no threats. Just a customer asking for service. He wanted to give her a second chance. Wednesday morning, 9:45 a.m. Aaron walked into First Union Savings Bank wearing a clean gray shirt and the same jeans. This time, he brought his passport too. Driver's license, bank card, Social Security card, passport. Every form of identification a human being could carry without wearing a badge. Nina saw him first. Her eyes went soft, not with pity, but recognition. She knew. She remembered Monday. "Good morning, Mr. Mitchell." "Morning, Nina. I'd like to try again." He slid the check across the counter. Same check, same amount, same name. Nina reached for her keyboard. Then she stopped, bit her lip, glanced toward the glass office. "One moment, sir. I'll be right back." She walked to Claire's office, knocked, went inside. Aaron could see them through the glass, Nina talking, Claire barely looking up. Claire shook her head, waved a hand, dismissive, like swatting a fly. Nina came back. Her face was tight. She wouldn't look him in the eye. "Mr. Mitchell, the branch manager has flagged your check for extended review. It could take 5 to 10 business days." 5 to 10 business days. For a cashier's check from a top 5 national bank. A check that could be verified in 90 seconds with a single phone call. Aaron kept his voice level. "I'd like to speak with Miss Dawson directly, please." Nina swallowed. She's currently in a meeting." Aaron looked past Nina, through the glass wall. Claire Dawson sat at her desk, alone, eating a salad from a plastic container. Fork in one hand, phone in the other, scrolling, chewing. Not a meeting in sight. Their eyes met through the glass. Claire held his gaze for 1 second, then looked away, took another bite. Aaron stood there for a long moment. The lobby buzzed around him, keyboards clicking, a printer humming, the soft jazz still playing like everything was perfectly fine. He gathered his documents, put the check back in the envelope, and walked out. Again. Nina watched him go. Her hands were shaking. She turned to the other teller, a young guy named Kevin, and whispered, "She didn't even look at the check. She didn't even try." Kevin shrugged. "It's Claire. What do you want me to do?" Nina said nothing. But that night, she couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying Aaron's face when she told him 5 to 10 business days. He wasn't angry. He wasn't rude. He just looked tired. The kind of tired that has nothing to do with sleep. Friday morning, 10 a.m. Aaron came back. This time was different. Not in what he wore. Same clean clothes, same manila envelope, same quiet dignity. But something in his eyes had shifted. Like a man who had made a decision and was now just walking through the steps. He'd called Terrence Moore the night before, his attorney, his best friend, the sharpest legal mind he knew. Terrence wanted to come inside. Aaron said no, not yet. "Wait in the car. Give me 15 minutes. 15 minutes for what? One last chance." Terrence leaned back in the passenger seat. "Brother, she doesn't deserve a last chance. This isn't about what she deserves. It's about who I am." Aaron walked in alone. The lobby was quiet. A Tuesday morning energy. A few older customers at the counter, a man filling out a deposit slip, the jazz still humming. Claire was already at the front today, standing near the teller stations, clipboard in hand, playing supervisor. She saw Aaron before he reached the counter. Her jaw tightened. She stepped forward, didn't wait for him to speak. "Sir, I've already explained that your check is under review. Coming in here every other day isn't going to change that." Her voice was loud, deliberately loud. The man with the deposit slip looked up. An elderly couple near the door turned their heads. Aaron set the envelope on the counter. "I'd like to deposit my check. And I'd like you to stop wasting my time." "Ma'am, I've provided every form of identification you could possibly need. I've been patient. I've come back 3 times. I'm asking you, one more time, to do your job." Claire's nostrils flared. She took 1 step closer, lowered her voice, but only slightly. "Let me make something real clear. I don't care how many times you walk through that door. I don't cash checks I can't verify. And I don't trust people who show up 3 times in 1 week pushing a $250,000 check in clothes that cost less than my lunch." The words hung in the air like smoke. A woman behind Aaron in line looked at the floor. The elderly couple pretended to read a brochure. Nobody said a word. Aaron didn't blink. I'd like to see the written policy that authorizes you to hold a verified cashier's check for 10 business days. It's internal policy. Then show me. I don't have to show you anything. You're refusing to show me the policy, and you're refusing to process my deposit. Is that correct?
Claire's smile came back. That tight, controlled, sharp-edged smile. She glanced at the security guard, a big man in a black polo standing by the door. One look. That's all it took. The guard walked over, stood right next to Aaron, close enough that Aaron could smell his cologne. The message was clear. You are not a customer. You are a threat. Claire crossed her arms. Sir, if you continue to be disruptive, I will have you escorted out.
Aaron looked at the guard, looked at Claire, looked at the 6 people in the lobby who had watched everything and done nothing. He picked up the envelope. Slowly. You know what, Ms. Dawson? You're right. We are done here. But I want you to remember something. He leaned in, just slightly, just enough. I gave you 3 chances. 3. And all 3 times, you chose this. Claire's smile flickered. For the first time, just a flash, something uncertain moved behind her eyes. Aaron turned, walked toward the door. His shoes clicked on the marble floor. The jazz played on. The guard stepped aside. He pushed the glass door open. The morning air hit his face, cool, sharp, real. Terrence was leaning against the car, arms folded, watching through his sunglasses. How'd it go? Aaron opened the passenger door, sat down, closed his eyes for 3 seconds. She called the security guard on me. Terrence pulled off his sunglasses. His jaw tightened. Then we're done being polite. Aaron looked at him. We're done being polite. Terrence didn't go home. He went straight to Aaron's kitchen table, laptop open, legal pad out, 3 pens lined up like bullets. Aaron made coffee, 2 cups, black, no sugar. He set one in front of Terrence and sat across from him. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The house was quiet, just the dog snoring on the couch and the coffee maker ticking as it cooled. Terrence broke the silence. Tell me everything. From the first visit, don't leave out a single word. Aaron told him. All 3 visits. Every look. Every word. The salad. The security guard. The cologne. Claire's smile. That tight, controlled, porcelain smile that never once cracked until the very end. Terrence wrote it all down. Dates, times, names. He circled 3 things and underlined them twice. No verification call made. No fraud report filed. No written policy produced. She's got nothing, Terrence said. No legitimate reason. Not one. I know. So what do you want to do? Aaron looked at the envelope on the counter. The check inside was still crisp, still valid, still his. I don't just want my check cashed, Terrence. I want to know how many other people she did this to, and I want to know who let her. That was the moment everything shifted. This was no longer about a check. It was about a pattern. Terrence made the first call that afternoon. Not to a lawyer, not to a reporter. To the regional headquarters of First Union Savings Bank. He was professional, calm. He identified himself as legal counsel for a client who had experienced repeated service denials at the Ridgewood branch. He requested a callback from the deputy regional director. He got transferred 3 times. Put on hold for 22 minutes. Transferred again. Finally, a woman in the compliance department told him that branch managers have discretionary authority over flagged transactions, and that the bank fully supports Ms. Dawson's professional judgment. Terrence asked if they had reviewed the specifics of the case. The woman paused, then said, Sir, I'm not authorized to discuss individual customer interactions. He hung up. looked at Aaron. They're backing her.
Aaron nodded slowly. For now. That evening, Terrence did what he does best. He dug. Public records, consumer complaint databases, state regulatory filings, CFPB reports. He wasn't looking for gossip. He was looking for a pattern. And it didn't take long to find one.
In the past 24 months, 6 formal complaints had been filed against the Ridgewood branch of First Union Savings Bank. All 6 were from Black or Latino customers. All 6 described the same thing: delayed transactions, denied services, holds placed without explanation, extended verifications that never ended. One complaint stood out. A Black small business owner named Gerald Davis had tried to deposit a legitimate business check, $38,000, from a verified client. Claire held it for 15 days. 15. No explanation, no fraud report. Gerald called the branch 9 times. Each time, he was told the matter was under review. On day 16, Gerald closed his account. He wrote in his complaint, "I felt like a criminal for trying to deposit my own money." His complaint was marked resolved internally. No follow-up, no investigation, no consequence. 6 complaints, 6 people of color. 6 times the system looked the other way. Terrence laid the printouts on the table. Aaron read every one. He didn't speak for a long time. When he finally looked up, his voice was steady but heavy. She's been doing this for years. And they let her. Every single time.
Terrence leaned forward.
So now you know. The question is, what do you want to do with it?
Aaron looked at the stack of complaints. 6 strangers, 6 stories, 6 people who walked into a bank with their own money and walked out feeling like they had done something wrong. He thought about Gerald Davis, a man who ran a business, paid taxes, employed people, and couldn't deposit a check at his own bank. Everything, Aaron said. I want to do everything.
While Aaron and Terrence built their case from the kitchen table, something else was happening inside First Union Savings Bank. Nina Vasquez couldn't stop thinking about Friday morning. She sat in her car after her shift, engine running, staring at the dashboard. The image kept replaying. Aaron's face when the security guard walked over. That quiet, unbothered calm. Like a man who had practiced holding his dignity in places that didn't want him to have any.
She had seen Claire do this before. Not this extreme, not 3 times in 1 week, but the pattern was there. The extra holds on checks from certain customers. The way Claire's voice changed, just slightly, just enough, when the person across the counter didn't look like the usual Ridgewood clientele. Nina never said anything. She told herself it wasn't her place. She was a teller, 26 years old, student loans, rent. A mother who depended on her.
But Friday was different. Friday, Claire called a man a stray dog in front of everyone, and nobody did a thing. That night, Nina opened her phone. She had recorded part of Friday's encounter, not the whole thing, just 90 seconds. She'd held her phone below the counter, tilted the camera up. The footage was shaky, but you could hear everything. Claire's voice. Stray dogs don't get served at this counter. The silence afterward. The jazz still playing. The guard's footsteps. Nina watched it 3 times. Then she called her friend, a woman named Patricia, who worked for a regional news outlet. I need to talk to you, not as a friend, as a journalist. What happened? Nina paused. Something that can't keep happening. She didn't send the footage yet, not that night, but the seed was planted. And once a seed like that finds soil, it doesn't stop growing. Monday morning, Terrence filed a formal complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Detailed, documented, every date, every visit, every word Claire said, every policy she failed to cite. The same day, he sent a letter, not to the regional office, not to the compliance department, but directly to First Union's corporate legal team at their Manhattan headquarters. The letter was 11 pages long. It outlined Aaron's 3 visits, Claire's conduct, the absence of any fraud documentation, and the pattern of 6 prior complaints from customers of color at the same branch. The final paragraph read, "My client is prepared to pursue all available remedies, regulatory, civil, and public, if this matter is not addressed immediately and transparently." Terrence also made one more call to Henderson and Cole, one of the most respected civil rights law firms on the East Coast. He spoke with a senior partner named Diana Henderson for 45 minutes. When he hung up, he had a co-counsel agreement and a case strategy. They were going after Claire. They were going after Philip Caldwell, the deputy regional director who told compliance to back her. And they were going after First Union itself. This wasn't a complaint anymore. It was a case. While Aaron's legal team loaded their weapons, Claire Dawson had no idea what was coming. In fact, she felt good. That Monday, she sat in the break room with 2 colleagues, eating a turkey wrap, laughing about her weekend. Between bites, she mentioned, casually, proudly, that she had caught a suspicious transaction last week. Some guy kept coming in with a massive check. No way it was legit. You could just tell. Her colleague nodded. Good instincts. Right? That's what I said. 20 years in banking. You learn to read people. She said, read people, like it was a skill, like it was something to be proud of. That same morning, Philip Caldwell, deputy regional director, received a forwarded copy of Terrence's letter from corporate. He read it at his desk. His coffee went cold. He didn't call Claire to reprimand her. He didn't flag the complaint for review. He picked up the phone and called her directly. "Claire, I need you to write up a detailed justification for the holds you placed on that check. Dates, reasons, everything. Make it thorough." "Why? What happened?" "Just do it. And don't talk about this with anyone." He wasn't investigating. He was building a wall, a paper trail to protect Claire, protect the branch, and protect himself. The system wasn't failing. The system was working exactly as it was designed to, for certain people. The question was whether anyone would ever break through it. They were about to find out. Oh, come on. 3 times. He walked in 3 times with every document on earth, and she still said no. Like, imagine that's you. Your money. Your name on the check. And someone looks you dead in the face and says you don't deserve it. How would you feel? 1 week later, Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. sharp, Aaron Mitchell walked into First Union Savings Bank for the 4th time. But this time, everything was different. He wore the same jeans, same plain shirt, same Timex on his wrist. But behind him walked Terrence Moore, 6'2" in a charcoal suit that could pay someone's rent. Briefcase in his left hand, legal pad in his right. Eyes locked forward like a man walking into a courtroom. And behind Terrence, 2 people Claire had never seen before. A man and the woman, both in corporate navy, both carrying leather folders stamped with the First Union Savings Bank logo. Not the branch logo, the corporate logo. The lobby was quiet. A few customers at the counter, Nina behind the glass,
the jazz still playing. Claire saw them from her office. She stood up slowly. Her hand went to her collar. Something in her stomach moved. Not fear yet, but the beginning of it.
She stepped out of her office. Professional smile, tight, controlled. "Can I help you?" The woman in corporate Navy spoke first. Her name was Sandra Ellis, Senior Vice President of Compliance. She didn't smile. "Ms. Dawson, I'm Sandra Ellis from First Union Corporate Compliance. This is Raymond Torres, Internal Audit. We're here regarding a formal complaint filed against this branch." Claire's smile held, barely. "Of course, we can talk in my office." "We'll talk here." Sandra's voice was polite, but the kind of polite that doesn't bend. "First, I need you to pull up the full account profile for Mr. Aaron Mitchell. Complete relationship. All accounts." Claire glanced at Aaron, then at Terrence, then back at Sandra. Yes, of course. One moment." She walked behind the counter, sat at a terminal, typed Aaron's name. The screen loaded, and Claire Dawson stopped moving. Her lips parted, just slightly. Her hand, the one holding the pen, went slack. The pen slipped through her fingers and hit the desk with a small plastic click that sounded like a gunshot in that silent lobby. She stared at the screen. Aaron Mitchell. Checking account. Opened 3 weeks ago. Balance. $4,200. But that wasn't what made her drop the pen. Below the checking account was a second line, then a third, then a fourth. A private wealth management portfolio linked to the same Social Security number, managed by First Union's parent company. Investment accounts, trust accounts, brokerage holdings, total value $412 million. $412 million. The cashier's check she refused 3 times was a routine internal transfer. Aaron's money moving between Aaron's accounts inside the same bank. Claire looked up from the screen. Her face had lost all its color. The pearl earrings suddenly looked cheap. The blazer looked like a costume. Sandra Ellis spoke without looking at her. "Ms. Dawson, you refuse to process an internal transfer for one of this institution's largest individual clients 3 times. I need you to explain your reasoning." Claire's mouth opened, closed, opened again. There were fraud concerns. The amount was... I felt it was necessary to... Did you file a suspicious activity report? No, not formally, but... Did you call the issuing institution to verify the check? I was going to. Did you contact our wealth management division to check Mr. Mitchell's portfolio? Silence. "Ms. Dawson, did you perform any verification at all?" Claire's hands were shaking. She gripped the edge of the desk. "I used my judgment. 20 years of experience." "Your judgment." Sandra let the word hang in the air. Then she opened her leather folder. "I have 6 complaints from this branch in the past 24 months, all from customers of color, all describing the same pattern. No fraud reports filed in any of them." She closed the folder. "This isn't judgment, Ms. Dawson. This is something else entirely." The lobby was dead silent. Every customer had stopped moving. Nina stood behind the counter with tears building in her eyes. The security guard, the same one who had stood next to Aaron like a threat, stared at the floor. Aaron stepped forward. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "I opened that checking account on purpose, 3 weeks ago, because I'd heard the complaints. I'd read the stories, and I wanted to see for myself." He paused. Let it land. "I walked in here 3 times, dressed like this. No title, no entourage.
just a man with a valid check. And 3 times, you decided I wasn't worth your time. Claire's eyes were wet, not from remorse, from the sudden, crashing realization of what she had done and who she had done it to. I'm withdrawing every dollar from this institution. Today. All $412 million. My attorneys will handle the rest. The words hit the room like a wave. Sandra Ellis and Raymond Torres exchanged a glance. The kind of glance that says, this is going to be very, very bad. Claire opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Aaron turned toward the door. Terrence followed. At the threshold, Aaron stopped. He didn't look back. You called me a stray dog, Ms. Dawson, in front of everyone in this lobby. I want you to remember that, because that stray dog just cost you everything. The glass door swung shut behind him. The jazz kept playing. The brass fixtures still gleamed, but something in that lobby had cracked open, and it was never going back together. Claire didn't move for a full minute after Aaron left. She sat at the terminal, staring at the screen, her dropped pen still on the desk. The number glowed back at her. $412 million. $412 million. The man she called a roach. The man she called a stray dog. Sandra Ellis broke the silence. Ms. Dawson, please step into your office, now. Claire stood. Her legs were unsteady. She walked into the glass office, the same office where she'd eaten her salad while Aaron waited, the same office where she'd waved Nina away like a fly. Now it felt like a cage. Sandra closed the door. Raymond Torres stood outside, already on his phone. Miss Dawson, effective immediately, you are placed on administrative leave pending a full internal investigation. Claire's voice cracked. Sandra, please. This was a misunderstanding. I was protecting the bank. I was doing my job. Your job was to serve the customer. You refused 3 times with no documentation, no verification, no fraud report, nothing. I can fix this. Let me call him. Let me process the check right now. I'll do it myself. It's too late for that. Sandra held out her hand. Your access badge, please. Claire stared at the open palm. Her fingers went to the badge clipped on her blazer. The badge she'd worn every day for 6 years. The badge that made her the most powerful person in that lobby. She unclipped it, placed it in Sandra's hand. It made no sound, but it felt like the loudest thing in the room. You'll need to collect your personal belongings. Security will escort you out. 20 minutes later, Claire Dawson walked through the lobby carrying a cardboard box. Inside it, a framed photo from a company picnic, a coffee mug that said, World's Best Boss, a desk calendar, a lint roller. 6 years of authority packed into one box. Nina watched from behind the counter. The other tellers watched. The customers watched. The security guard, that same guard, the one Claire had used like a weapon, held the front door open for her. He didn't look at her. Not once. Claire stepped outside. The morning air hit her face. The parking lot was bright and ordinary. Birds on the power line. A woman loading groceries into her trunk. Nobody noticed. Nobody cared. The world kept moving without her in it. Back inside, Raymond Torres was already on the phone with corporate. The words $412 million had traveled up the chain faster than any memo in First Union's history. By noon, Philip Caldwell got the call. Not a friendly call. Not a coaching call. A conference call with corporate legal, compliance, and the CEO's chief of staff. Philip, we have a record of a phone call you made to Ms. Dawson last Monday. You instructed her to create retroactive documentation to justify the holds. Is that correct? Philip's mouth went dry. I was advising her on best practices for... You were coaching a branch manager to fabricate a paper trail after a formal complaint had been filed. That's not advising. That's obstruction. Silence. You are also placed on administrative leave, effective immediately. Do not contact Ms. Dawson. Do not contact the Ridgewood branch. Do not contact Mr. Mitchell or his counsel. HR will be in touch. The line went dead. Philip sat in his office for a long time. His coffee was cold. His inbox was full. His phone buzzed with a text from Claire. "Philip, what's going on? Call me." And he stared at it until the screen went dark. He never replied. By 3 p.m. that Tuesday, both Claire Dawson and Philip Caldwell were gone. Badges deactivated, email access revoked, desk drawers emptied. Terrence got the confirmation call from First Union's corporate legal team at 3:45 p.m. They wanted to discuss a resolution and explore ways to retain Mr. Mitchell's business. Terrence's response was 6 words. My client's decision is final. Aaron was at home when Terrence called with the update. He was sitting on his porch, his dog at his feet, the afternoon sun cutting through the trees. Claire's out, Philip's out, corporate is scrambling. Aaron was quiet for a moment. He scratched the dog behind the ears. Good. But we're not done. Not even close. Nina Vasquez made the call on Wednesday night. She sat in her car outside her apartment, engine off, phone in her hand, Patricia's number already dialed. She just hadn't pressed the green button yet. She thought about her rent, her mother, her student loans. She thought about what happens to people who speak up, how the world loves whistleblowers in movies and punishes them in real life. Then she thought about Aaron Mitchell standing at that counter, the guard next to him, Claire's voice cutting through the lobby like a blade. Stray dogs don't get served at this counter. She pressed the button. Patricia, I have footage, and I'm ready to talk. Patricia Reeves was a reporter for the Bergen County Herald, a small regional outlet with a website that got decent traffic but wasn't exactly national news. She listened to Nina for 40 minutes, asked careful questions, took notes. Thursday morning, Nina sent the video. Patricia watched it 6 times. Then she called her editor. The story ran Friday afternoon. Headline, Bank manager refused black man's check 3 times. He was their biggest client. By Saturday morning, it had been picked up by 3 national outlets. By Saturday night, 12. The Bergen County Herald's website crashed twice from the traffic. Nina's footage hit social media like gasoline on a fire. The clip was 90 seconds long, shaky, shot from below the counter. But the audio was crystal clear. Claire's voice. Get this roach out of my bank. The silence of the lobby. The security guard's footsteps. Aaron's calm reply. Then Claire again. Stray dogs don't get served at this counter. 30 million views in 4 days. That number kept climbing. The comment section became a battlefield. Thousands of people sharing their own stories, being followed in stores, denied service, questioned at their own banks. The phrase, stray dogs don't get served, became a hashtag. It trended for 3 days straight. Then, the other voices started coming forward. Gerald Davis saw the story on the evening news. He was sitting in his living room, eating dinner alone, when Claire Dawson's face appeared on screen. He set his fork down. His hands were shaking. He called the number at the bottom of the screen, a tip line the Herald had set up. He told Patricia everything. The $38,000 deposit, the 15-day hold, the 9 unanswered phone calls, the day he closed his account and walked out feeling like he'd committed a crime for trying to access his own money. After Gerald, 2 more came forward, then 3 more. A black school teacher who was asked to prove her paycheck was real. A Latino contractor whose business account was frozen for 11 days with no explanation. A retired black veteran who was told his pension deposit didn't match his profile. All from the Ridgewood branch. All during Claire Dawson's tenure. All marked resolved internally. The pattern wasn't just clear. It was systematic. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau opened a formal investigation into First Union Savings Bank the following Monday. Not just the Ridgewood branch, company-wide. The Department of Justice Civil Rights Division launched a parallel inquiry the same week. Federal investigators subpoenaed 2 years of internal communications from the Ridgewood branch. What they found was worse than anyone expected. Emails from Claire using coded language, high-risk profile, non-standard customer, elevated verification required. Phrases that appeared almost exclusively in files belonging to Black and Latino customers. A spreadsheet she kept on her desktop tracking flagged accounts, 83% of which belonged to people of color. And then there was Philip's trail. Emails instructing branch staff to handle sensitive complaints internally to avoid regulatory visibility. A memo suggesting that certain customer concerns be acknowledged and archived, corporate language for buried and forgotten. Henderson and Cole filed the lawsuit 6 weeks after Aaron's final visit. Mitchell versus First Union Savings Bank. Civil rights violations under the Equal Credit Opportunity Act and the Fair Housing Act. Named defendants: Claire Dawson, Philip Caldwell, and First Union Savings Bank as a corporate entity. It wasn't just Aaron's case. It was a class action on behalf of every customer who had been denied service, delayed, humiliated, or turned away from the Ridgewood branch because of the color of their skin. The trial began 6 months later. Federal Courthouse, Newark, New Jersey. Judge Richard Cole presiding. Nina Vasquez took the stand on day 2. Her hands trembled, but her voice didn't. She described the culture of the branch under Claire, how tellers were quietly told to flag certain customers, how extra steps were required for some deposits, but not others, how everyone knew but nobody said anything because Claire controlled everything. Schedules, shifts, reviews, raises. She didn't put it in writing, Nina said. She didn't have to. You just knew. If the customer didn't look like Ridgewood, you slowed down. You checked twice. You called her over, and she handled the rest. Gerald Davis testified on day 4. His voice broke twice. He described the 15-day hold, the 9 phone calls, the silence, the shame. I owned a business, he said, employed 4 people, paid taxes, and I couldn't deposit a check at my own bank. Do you know what that does to a man? Claire took the stand on day 6. Under cross-examination, she could not produce a single documented fraud concern related to Aaron's check. She admitted she never called the issuing bank. She admitted she never filed a suspicious activity report until after the complaint was filed, at which point she submitted one retroactively. That retroactive filing became its own problem. Filing a false SAR is a federal offense. Claire had tried to cover her tracks, and instead she'd handed the prosecution another charge. Aaron testified last. He wore a simple gray suit, his mother's Timex on his wrist. He spoke for 11 minutes, never raised his voice, never pointed a finger. He just told the story. 3 visits, 3 refusals, 3 chances. And ended with one question. How many times does a man have to prove he belongs? The jury deliberated for 5 hours. Verdict: guilty on all counts.
First Union Savings Bank was ordered to pay $38 million in damages, $12 million to the class of affected customers, $8 million to Aaron, which he donated entirely to financial literacy programs, $18 million in punitive damages.
Claire Dawson was terminated permanently and barred from the banking industry for life. She faced a separate state criminal charge for filing a fraudulent suspicious activity report, a false federal filing that carried up to 5 years. Philip Caldwell was terminated and fined $500,000 personally for his role in the cover-up. First Union was placed under a federal consent decree. 5 years of mandatory monitoring. Mandatory bias training at every branch. A complete overhaul of their complaint review process. An independent ombudsman to review flagged transactions. Within 3 months of the verdict, 3 former employees at other First Union branches came forward with similar stories. Different branches, different managers, same pattern. The consent decree expanded. The investigation widened. What started with 1 man and 1 check at 1 branch became the largest banking discrimination case in New Jersey history. So where are they now? Aaron Mitchell never went back to First Union Savings Bank. Not once. He transferred every dollar, all $412 million, to Liberty National, a black-owned bank based in Newark. It was the largest single deposit in that bank's history. The branch manager cried when she saw the wire confirmation. 3 months after the trial, Aaron launched the Mitchell Foundation, a nonprofit. No flashy galas, no celebrity board members, just a simple mission: microloans and financial education for underserved communities. People who got turned away. People who got told no. People who were made to feel like their money wasn't real. In the first year alone, the foundation funded over 200 small business loans. Barbershops, bakeries, daycare centers, laundromats, the kind of businesses that hold the neighborhood together. Aaron still lives in Ridgewood. Same house, same garden, same scratched-up SUV. He still wears his mother's Timex every single day. He still makes coffee in that chipped mug with no logo. His neighbors finally found out who he was after the trial made national news. The woman next door brought him a pie. The man across the street shook his hand for the first time in 6 months. Aaron just smiled. Same smile he had in that lobby. Nina Vasquez quit First Union the week after the verdict. She didn't look back. Aaron hired her as the Mitchell Foundation's Community Outreach Director. Her first project? A free financial literacy workshop at a community center in Newark. 43 people showed up. She stayed 2 hours late answering questions. She never regretted pressing record. Not for 1 second. Gerald Davis received $1.8 million from the class action settlement. He reopened his business, a printing shop in East Orange that had been closed for 14 months. He hired back 3 of his 4 original employees. The 4th had moved to Georgia, but called to say congratulations. Gerald named his new shop 3rd Time's the Charm. He put a little sign in the window. Everyone gets served here. Claire Dawson disappeared from public life. She never gave a statement, never did an interview, never posted online. Last anyone heard, she was working a retail job in Pennsylvania. A former colleague said she changed her hair, lost weight, didn't talk much. Her banking career was over. Permanently. The federal bar meant no bank, no credit union, no financial institution in the United States would ever hire her again. Philip Caldwell paid his $500,000 fine. He sold his house in Summit to cover it. He reportedly took a consulting job in another state. Nobody at First Union mentioned his name. The Ridgewood branch of First Union Savings Bank got a new manager. a black woman named Dorothy Adams. She'd been with the company for 18 years. Her first act was to remove the glass wall around the manager's office. "My door stays open," she told her staff on day one. "And so does this bank." And that's the point. Not everyone has $412 million to make a bank pay attention. Not everyone has a lawyer on speed dial. Not everyone has the luxury of walking in a fourth time. Most people who get treated like Aaron Mitchell, they just leave. They close their account. They swallow it. They move on. And the Claires of the world keep smiling behind their glass walls like nothing happened. That's why stories like this matter. Not because they always end with justice, but because they remind us how many times they don't.